Thank you, AJ. I feel that this also becomes genetically down the line, it's carried on down the line within the cellular structure. So if it's not healed or released in this generation, it can be in the other, and I consistently see it in Aboriginal community from their past traumas. It is actually within the cellular structure. So it can actually go back further than even if they were treated very well in this lifetime. What's your feelings on that?
I don't believe it's the cellular structure, but let me show you what it is. I've talked about this question before, but here's our soul. Our soul has an emotion in it. These emotions came from, where did they come from? Generally, from the soul of our parent. So the parent soul in some case, right? Where they had an emotion, and their denial of that emotion created a subsequent emotion in myself. It doesn't mean it's the same emotion, because an emotion of a denial of something in the parent can create the opposite emotion. Does that make sense? Now, every time, what happens as soon as I incarnate, as soon as I become present in the physical, all of my parents' denied emotions are now imposed upon me, which now means my soul has all of those emotions inside of it. Now, on top of that, my grandparents' soul probably has similar emotions that they pass down to their parents, and so forth back generationally. Does that make sense? Now, what's happening is that sometimes my grandparent might have passed. Now, if my grandparents pass and they still feel an affinity to me, they're a spirit who's surrounding me. So they might then have that same emotion, and their grandparent might have the same emotion, and if they haven't moved on, their grandparent might have the same emotion, and so forth, right the way back generationally. So not only do I have now my own emotions, but I have all of my emotions created by the events in my life that were denied in my environment, created all the way back generationally. And that imposes itself upon my soul. And because my soul is connected to my spirit body and my physical body, right? So the spirit body and physical body. Because my soul is connected to that, every single emotion that I have that's unhealed within myself creates a physical problem in both of those bodies, which then becomes cellular. Does that make sense? So the key is with cellular memory, what we need to do is understand where it's coming from. Where it's coming from is the soul's denied emotion that creates damages in these bodies. Now, unfortunately, we have another part of this, and that is that there might be a spirit who's our friend, or thinks they're our friend, who's connected to me through my spirit body. And they might have some emotions which are very similar to my emotions, projecting at me as well. And so their emotions projected through these bodies will create different errors in these bodies. So this is why sometimes you can actually expel a spirit from a person's body and instantly their physical body heals. When I say instantly, I mean instantly in many cases, like instantly. They disconnect from the person on the earth, their physical body straight away has function. But there is still the emotion which can create another attraction of a spirit there that I'd need to deal with. So it's the emotion that causes all attractions. So can you see how like cellular memory type ideas are sort of a simplification? Yeah. Really everything's happening through the soul affecting the spirit bodies, whether that soul be the multi-generations of our parents or friends in the spirit world who are connecting to us. If you can talk into the mic if you've still got it, because we can't hear it on the tape otherwise.
The spirit can affect the soul as well. The actual spirit, like if we're alive, we have a spirit.
The spirits are... I'm talking about the spirit friends in the spirit world.
Yeah.
All of them are always affecting our soul.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because they're just like any other person on earth. Every one of you here today is affecting each other's soul in some way. Mm-hmm. All your denied emotion is getting reflected out into the audience, which other people are feeling. And all of your felt emotion you are owning, and so it's not getting reflected out, but it does have an impact on others. When you follow your desire, it has an impact on others. It's impossible for any of us to not be affected if we really are loving, in order to not be affected in some way by others. It's our response emotional to it that determines how clear we are inside of ourselves. So I said last week to a group, what I do myself is I allow myself to feel all of my emotions about what's getting passed into me. So the last few weeks I've been getting lots and lots of rage from people on earth and in the spirit world, and I'm just letting it wash through me. And whatever is inside of me, and the emotion inside of me is an emotion of fear, gets triggered, so I go into trembling about it. Does that make sense? And once I release that emotion and it's gone, people can project that emotion at me, and I will no longer feel that emotional response of fear inside of me.
So what you're actually saying is even if you clear the spirit, you need to clear the soul of the emotions and vice versa? Not just clearing the emotions and forgetting it, not vice versa.
No, okay. Because when you clear the emotion in the soul, your spirit and material bodies will automatically clear. Because remember, your soul is what drives all of your whole physiological structure is driven and controlled by the condition of your soul. And this, by the way, there's some spirits who are also prompting your question. So
yes,
there's some other
very
things.
Much, of course.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is address some of their questions because they're asking some additional questions.
Thank you.
The additional questions they're asking are, what about in the spirit world? How does it work there? And the way that it works there is exactly the same as it works here on earth, in that our soul's emotion guides the condition of our spirit body. So many of the spirits who are asking this question have a very poor spirit body. They're very sickly looking spirit bodies. And they thought when they passed over into the spirit world that they'd actually have good looking spirit bodies. And they're finding actually that they've got bad looking spirit bodies, even worse looking bodies than they had when they were on earth. And so they need to understand that it's because of an emotional reason within themselves. And when they release the causal emotions within their soul, their spirit body's look will automatically get better. And you can... Yeah, no, that's all right.
So then, if I work on myself, because I'm working so closely with some of these...
Spirits?
Yep.
If
I work on myself to clear my soul, will I be clearing their spirit through their soul of their spirit?
You can't sort of clear an emotion for another person. However, what you can do is be in an open enough state where they feel allowed to clear their emotion. So, for example, if I have an emotion inside of myself where I'm angry with men, so this emotion exists inside of me, I'm angry with men. If a woman comes to me and she's also angry with men, she'll let herself feel angry with men around me. Does that make sense? But if I'm angry with men and I'm denying the underlying grief I feel about men, and the woman who's angry with men comes to me and she starts crying in front of me about how she feels hurt by men, I am going to automatically try to shut her down. That will happen before I even open my mouth. There will be an emotion coming from me of, no, you're not allowed to feel this grief. I don't want to feel my grief. You're not allowed to feel yours. And I'll do everything in my power, right up to giving a big hug and saying, there, you don't have to feel this, in order to stop the process from occurring. So the same applies when we're helping spirits. If I'm in a state where I'm shutting down an emotion inside of myself, then I'm automatically preventing any person who's with me, whether I say it or not, it's immaterial, I'm automatically preventing any person who's with me from experiencing that emotion. So if I'm shutting down an emotion of grief within me, any spirit with me is going to feel like they're not allowed to feel their grief. If I'm shutting down an emotion of shame, sexual shame within me, any spirit who's around me will not be able to feel their sexual shame. They will feel like they can't talk about their own sexual shame. Does that make sense? Because of the emotion in me. So me getting rid of the emotions inside of me has a very powerful effect to everyone around me, because everyone around me feels like they're allowed to do what they're allowed to do. This is why many of you in the past have come up to me, started saying a story that you've told yourself 10 times before, but cry when you're telling me. Because I feel like you're allowed to cry. Does that make sense? Whereas you don't feel like you're allowed to cry, but when you're around somebody who feels like you're allowed to, you do. But if you're around somebody who feels like you're not allowed to, what do you do then? You bury it, push it down, suppress it, all the things you learnt to do when you were little. But hopefully that sort of explains what's going on. Yep, that's good.